The number of the week is 35. Marriott announced earnings, and it says that it expects to see 35% growth in co-branded card fees in 2026. Seth, what do you think about that?
It's incredible. I mean, talk about the power of loyalty, the power of credit cards.
Do I need a Marriott credit card, Seth?
Well, only if you're staying in Marriott hotels, I suppose. I mean,
I do. I am a Bonvoy person.
I mean, I think it speaks to all of this research that we've conducted and seen about how important credit cards and banks are to the travel loyalty system. They started in airlines. We've talked multiple times about, we both actually have co-branded airline cards, different airlines, and those are incredibly powerful. And now the hotels are getting in on the game. And it actually dominated Marriott's earnings call when, by the time this airs, it will be last week. They talked at length about, they're seeing single digit growth in the credit card fees, but they've also just renegotiated the royalty revenues that they're going to get for basically licensing Marriott Bonvoy to whoever is providing the credit card. And so it's that one-time lump licensing fee and the recurring growth in terms of consumer spending, new signups, power of Bonvoy, and those two things, single digit fee growth plus a nice chunky renegotiation of saying, hey, if you want to re-sign your deal to offer Marriott credit cards, you got to pay up. And that's going to lead to, they say, 35% growth in credit card fees in 2026. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be actually, I think that they currently generate over 700 million in credit card fees. I think I saw that in the earnings transcript. So this is a huge program. They just announced they reached 270 million Bonvoy members. I think I read 40 plus million Bonvoy signups now at 270 million Bonvoy members. Huge credit card co-branded program, really showing the power of loyalty. That's just a great story for me for this earnings cycle.
I wonder how much, and I'm sure that many, many people have looked at this, but I wonder how much the boon in credit cards is just like this, the fact that we've just completely kind of gone cashless. I don't know when the last time I've paid for something in cash. I mean, I know you can pay with a debit card and not everybody wants to use a credit card, but like I'm old enough where I remember like the boogeyman of the credit card, that it was like a risky thing, to put stuff on your credit card. People used to put them in ice, blocks of ice in their
Is
freezers.
that true? Wait, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, tell me, I don't know this. Tell me this anecdote here.
No, so back in the 1900s, when you spent too much on your credit card, some people, they'd put it in a bowl or something, put it in ice in the freezer, so they couldn't get to it unless they really had to. It would take some time to de-thaw.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Gives a new meaning to freeze your credit, I suppose.
Yeah, I was going to say a little historical perspective on the pod today. I also I thought Marriott had some other interesting stuff going on this week.
Well, I was going to say, I think you're totally right, though. It is this huge rise in credit card spending. Everyone uses credit cards. This is, I have to say, and we are biased, we're both based in America, this is a very American-forward phenomenon. I think I once ran the numbers, the average American has at least 2 credit cards. The average, in other parts of the world, in Europe or in Latin America, is like 0.5, there's not as much widespread use of credit cards. And so basically, I think you're right. Like some huge chunk of the economy, some huge chunk of consumer spending runs through credit cards, and they get to charge, interchange on that.
But it's not because all these people want to use credit cards. It's just because that is the system that we've all agreed.
Oh, I fully agree with you. I like to use credit cards because I like to know that I can charge back.
See, you're that person. See, I don't care. I don't care about the points because I don't have time in my brain to think about them.
Not the points. I like knowing that I can charge back the expense if I buy, I buy something.
How many times have you done that? Really?
More than once. Yeah. I charge back. You got to use your
Really?
benefits. Yeah, really.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Really.
no.
Well, this is not really a podcast story, but I had a gym membership that I couldn't cancel. So I just charged it back.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well, they're
great.
kind of evil with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
screw you.
Yeah.
Charge back.
Yeah.
Oh, they won't let me renew my membership again? No big deal. See ya.
Yeah. I just like the tap.
Oh, the
Like
tap
that's
is
what I
great.
want to do. I just want to not have to carry cash. I just want to use my phone to pay for things, but I end up putting it on a credit card because that's just the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy. And they charge, 1 to 3% of all those transactions, and they make a ton of money. And in order to keep that money, consumers need to keep demanding that retailers accept their credit cards, and you need to get consumers to sign up for your credit cards. And so to get those consumers to keep tapping, they say, well, why don't we incentivize consumers with their favorite purchase in the world, which is right now, travel.
So let's go back a minute. What are the Italians who have 0.5 credit cards? They're not using cash, are they? They're tapping away. Are they tapping through debit cards?
Debits.
Oh,
Debit
so
cards.
they do that. So I could do that too. I just have not thought about this in I just have not taken the time to to think
Yeah.
about this all that much.
And so it's actually interesting. Give me a second because I'm going to pull it up on this actual earnings transcript. But Marriott said on their call, they added 6 countries to our co-branded credit card partnerships. Since 2019, we now have 34 cards in 11 countries. And so actually, and let's see what they called out. They called out one specific country. I'll see if I can find it. I think it might have been the Middle East actually, where so some of this growth in Marriott's credit card fees is not just renewing deals with credit card companies in the US, it's the rest of the world kind of looking on and saying, well, hold on, this seems like a good deal. And they're seeing widespread, greater adoption of co-branded credit cards outside of the US. And traditionally, that's why branded loyalty was, I think, a little bit weaker outside of the US. There's fewer brands outside the US, there's more independent hotels, and you don't have that credit card ecosystem. But Marriott told us in their earnings call, actually, a lot of the credit card expansion is coming from international expansion.
The thing that came out of this particular earnings season that I thought was for hotels that was really interesting, Marriott included. So it's Marriott and Hilton specifically, is that they're kind of worried about AI, and like they're putting it down on paper now as an actual like risk that they're disclosing to their investors. So let me just back it up a little bit to 2023. It's not the first time that we have seen the hotels mention artificial intelligence as a risk. Back then, they were saying, oh, yeah, so, we don't really know that much about AI right now. It could make some mistakes, kind of like my favorite ever example till the end of time, the Air Canada chatbot example of AI making mistakes. It may have some liability there. We don't really know what it's going to do. So it was like we don't know that much about AI, and we don't know kind of like what the liability is going to look like. We don't know what the kind of the table stakes around governments and all of that stuff. So it's a risk because we just don't know what it is. In 2026, it was a dramatic change. Basically, it's like, we now know what AI is, and it's coming for our business. And that is the risk.
This was a really cool story. I think it's like worth also, I think sometimes we like letting people in on like a bit of the research and the reporting process.
Yeah.
And I saw this one play out where, it was Sean, right? It was Sean.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah.
Sean O'Neill, our Intrepid Hotels reporter, he's turning reading every page of Marriott's 10K filings. And if you're not a public company analyst, you may not realize that they're legally required to basically sit in a room with a bunch of lawyers and brainstorm every possible risk that they see as a threat and document it and write it out in their annual SEC filings. And Sean says, hey, this is interesting. I'm just flagging that they had this new risk. I think is this a story? And you were like, this is a story.
Yeah. I think
it's cool how those things become stories. Yeah, it's fascinating. And so, tell us more about what Sean discovered.
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to read you the quote. This is what is in the filing. In addition to the introduction of AI capabilities by existing and emerging travel intermediaries that may change the way guests plan, book, and pay for travel, which may disrupt how our products and services are marketed and distributed, potentially eroding brand loyalty, increasing distribution costs, and negatively affecting our loyalty program, which could adversely impact our financial performance and our ability to grow our business.
Wow.
So what that tells me is like they're worried. So this was in Marriott's filing. So, they're worried that we're all going to go into Claude or ChatGPT and instead of going to them, we're just going to go in there and say, I want to go to Paris. Where should I go? And eventually Claude's agent is just going to be like, oh, cool. Paris is great, Sarah. I've booked you at the XYZ.
Yeah.
And cut them right out of it.
Even more. The best fit for you based on everything I know about you and your personality and your budget is the XYZ. And I think the concern is, but I love Marriott. I stay in Marriott all the time. I have a co-branded credit card. And the AI says, well, I know all that, but I still think that this is a better deal and a better fit for you because of this. This was actually something we talked about on our megatrends. I wonder if Marriott's corporate attorneys attended megatrends. I don't know if they were there.
But no, I am absolutely certain that this risk in the 10K is directly because of the megatrend we wrote this year.
Do we take credit for that? I mean, it's too much of ego to take credit for that.
Yeah.
We talked about it. Skift Research did a survey where we asked customers, if an AI found you a better deal, would you switch outside of your preferred brand? And what we found was just 6% of respondents said, no way, Jose. I love my brand. I love my loyalty. I am staying pat with loyalty, come hell or high water. 6%. So in other words, 94%.
That's like almost a margin of error.
Exactly. I mean, it actually, yes.
Yeah.
So the reality is 90% of customers are making a deal, right? Well, I have this co-branded credit card. There's 270 million Bonvoy members out there. They are getting value out of the program. So, they're not as quite ready to leave in droves, but make me an offer. Let's see what this AI can do. And I think that there are people who have been living inside some of these loyalty ecosystems forever, for 20 years, who at this point don't even shop around. They just book with Hilton, Marriott, Delta, American, United, you name it. This is who I fly. This is where I stay. Let me just book it. And I think it's a real risk. I think it's a great thing that they flagged. I think it's a real risk that AI says, well, sure, you could always book that if you always want to, but maybe take a peek outside because I found these great results for you.
Although I will say, I'll share a little story. It was actually a week ago today. My uncle, who lived a very long and great life in Garland, Texas, he passed away. And so one of the things that I do, thank you, one of the things that I use my points for generally is when I have to fly around to go to funerals. Like I don't know how other people do it, but like I generally don't use my points for vacation. I use my points when I'm going somewhere unexpectedly that I wasn't planning on going. And so I'm just going to go. So I was sitting talking to a bunch of my cousins, who's great to see. And we kind of, we have like the cousins group chat, as I think many families do, the cousin group chat. And my sister and I were going to stay in Dallas at a Marriott because I booked through my points, and that's where we were staying. And I was kind of hoping like everybody would kind of coalesce and come with me to that hotel. But my cousin Kari was like, no, we're staying at the Hilton. And so like we were kind of split half and half. And so when we were at dinner, I was like, Kari, why are you guys staying at the Hilton? Why aren't you staying at the Marriott with us? She said, I'm pretty loyal to Hilton. I have a lot of points with them. And I'm like, oh, I'm pretty loyal to Marriott. I have a lot of points with them. And so even though we talk about like the mercenaries of loyalty and all of that good stuff, I will say there was a real live situation in 2026 where we had the points divide and how it plays out probably in real time with real families in real situations go down. We actually had a conversation about loyalty points last week with my family, something that I can say has never, ever happened before.
I mean, it happens in my family
I-
all the time. A lot.
See? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Seth.
I'm coming remote. I'm coming remote to you, not from my normal studio setup, but from my in-laws in New Jersey, and they are Marriott Bonvoy mega fans.
Yeah.
And so anytime I recommend anything that's not a Marriott, it's a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
So
I see. Yeah. And I don't even have a story about like my story about the corner in Ann Arbor when I became an American Airlines forever and ever amen flyer because of my one and only co-branded credit card. I don't have a Marriott story. I don't know why. They just got me. Maybe early in the app game.
probably the network.
I don't know.
They have hotels everywhere. I mean, Hilton reported earnings too, also pretty strong earnings from a net unit growth perspective. Same with Marriott. Those are the two huge, massive loyalty programs. I mean, really strong numbers, honestly.
Yeah.
And pretty optimistic outlooks, which is exciting and supportive. It's also a good segue to our Skift Research outlook, which is something that I promised our listeners would come on this episode. Do you mind if we talk about it for a little bit, Sarah?
Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, Sarah, our outlook just published. Really proud of the team and excited about it. You joined and helped us out on a webinar. That was a lot of fun. And so the word of the year that we're going with for travel industry in 2026 is resilience. And Sarah, you actually had a great question for me when we were discussing this behind the scenes about resilience.
Yeah, I was like, well, who is being resilient? In order to have resilience, you have to be resilient against something or from something, I guess. So who is it, Seth?
Yeah. And that was, by the way, this is the power of a great editor, because that was a great question that really perfect. And that led to this like little infographic chart that I created. Who is resilient is the consumer. They're resilient because they love to travel, because there are more of them. There's this huge rise in demographic tide. More of them, both younger generation that's rising and earning income, both the older generation that's living longer, living healthier lives, like we talked about with Ozempic, and then emerging markets all around the world where there are new travelers coming online, everywhere, and innovation, making it frictionless. That risk to Marriott, that AI risk, but frictionless travel is not a risk to the consumer. It's powerful for the consumer. And that's what's creating the resilience. And they are being resilient in the face of affordability, in the face of some lukewarm economic growth, and in the face of, perhaps most importantly, geopolitics, which is, we talk about that a lot on the podcast, Sarah.
I like the image that we chose for geopolitics here, which I think is like a fork in the road with like a little plant. There are many other images that I could have thought of to represent geopolitics right now, but that's probably as nice and a diplomatic one as we could think of. So well done. It's best that my brain is not always piped into the
power of the Microsoft PowerPoint clip art library to create true moments of diplomacy in the world.
There you go.
One of the things that we often get asked is why are we so confident in this consumer story? And our North Star is the consumer. It's that consumers prioritize travel. And I said it earlier when we talked about that credit card piece. I said, why do credit card and banks pay? Why is Marriott able to renegotiate its credit card fees so much higher, even when they're going to get single-digit bumps, high single-digit bumps in credit card fees? They think that their credit card fees are going to grow 35% because they're going to get this nice big bump from renegotiation. Why do the credit card companies want to pay so much? Because our North Star is that consumers love to travel and they prioritize travel. We asked this question, which I absolutely love. Which discretionary expense category are you most excited to spend on? It's important that it's discretionary because, look, if you can't buy groceries, if you can't pay your rent, you can't take a trip. But once those are paid off, and in a modest economic growth environment, those things will be paid off. You then get to you, the consumer, then get to say, okay, well, I've got some spending money. What am I going to prioritize it on? Is it going to be jewelry? Is it going to be home improvements? Is it going to be electronics? Is it going to be fashion? The number one answer is travel. That's what people want to prioritize. And we see that across the board. We ran this survey in China, India, UK, and the US. This is a global answer. It's true in all those countries. And it's the second year we've asked this question. It was true in 2025. It's true again now. And that's what's powering so much of our positive outlook for the year. Now, of course, there's going to be divergences, like economic growth in North America, economic growth in Europe will be slower than it will be in some other places. We're writing a lot about Saudi Arabia, about India. We even did a mega trend in Africa. So sometimes people would say, like, hey, I feel like you're a little too optimistic. Your growth rates are a little too high. And I say, well, that it's true. In the North American context, perhaps that's true. But you have to remember that there are huge economies starting from effectively a very low base at or near zero that are incredibly excited and passionate about travel. Overall, what we expect is for the travel industry to grow somewhere between 2 to 9%. We're calling our base case 5% growth. We think risks are skewed to the downside. So have to be clear, like if we think 5% is our base case, it's more likely to be 4% growth than it is to be 6% growth if we're wrong. The point of an outlook is not always to be 100% dead on accurate with a forecast. The point is just to really do a thinking exercise and say, what are the different indicators out there telling us about travel in the year ahead? And what do we think is a reasonable kind of baseline to plan around? And what are the drivers of that? Our key drivers are things like past performance, the fact that we did grow as an industry last year, right? It was a tough year, but the travel industry expanded. Well, GDP growth is going to look similar next year as it did last year. So we should expect travel to look similar. We look at optimism from consumers. We look at optimism from Wall Street analysts. We look at optimism from economists. So, that's where we're at in our outlook. Do you think there's any questions that you think our audience has that I could preemptively address? We took some questions on our webinar.
Yeah, I think that, I'm sitting here in Minneapolis right now. So, and as you know, I like to talk about about geopolitics. And I would think if I were listening right now, my big question would be, what do you folks at Skift think about? Like, yes, travelers are going to be resilient in the face, maybe, of geopolitics, but what does that really look like around the world? And what does that mean for me if I'm a young traveler in Bangladesh, or if I'm a boomer retiree in Florida? What does that mean for all of the different kind of groups, big groups of travelers around the world?
Yeah, I think geopolitics is probably the single biggest risk this year. And geopolitics in all of its many incarnations, from the protests in Minneapolis, which you were literally live on the ground covering, and what that's going to mean for that individual market, and hotels and conference centers and businesses that are going to lose revenue because people might avoid Minneapolis, super small scale, to the big scale of tariffs and what that means for the global economy, and trade and what that means for the global economy, to everything in between, from Air Canada having to cancel flights to Cuba because Cuba is running out of fuel, so they can't refuel to turn the planes around and get them back to Canada because of U.S. pressure, to China boycotting outbound tourism to Japan, to Russian airspace being closed, to people not wanting to visit the United States because of what they see in their news and what is actually happening in the United States. All of these things around geopolitics, they reverberate. It scares off people. Pisses people off. It impacts economic growth, which hits their wallets. That's the major overhang. If you just look at the GDP numbers, the employment numbers, the inflation numbers, you'd actually think this should be a great year for travel. But you have to add in that we are living in a moment of huge uncertainty, and that makes it hard for businesses to plan. It makes it hard for consumers to plan, and it makes it hard for people to really plop down a huge chunk of change to take a trip if they're not sure that they really want to support the country that they're visiting, as in the case happens with the United States, or that they're not sure they're going to get their money's worth. That maybe the trip's not even going to happen because some airspace is going to get closed, or some protest is going to happen, or some crazy visa policy change. So it's I think the number one risk for this year.
So Seth, First off, to all of our listeners out there, especially for those of you in the metro area, I have a plea. I would like to know what is the fanciest, most expensive, and luxurious coffee shop that any of you are aware of. Because for the second week in a row, I have one. I mean, my coffees, they're kind of lining up. Like, we're going to have to go really early so I can sleep because I'm going to be very well caffeinated. The U.S. curling team,
Yes.
in a great performance. I mean, really quite remarkable.
They play silver. They play silver. They did it.
Silver.
They had a great run. They had a great, real close championship game. They played silver, and I watched it all. I was riveted.
Yeah.
As one is by curling. But we placed a bet, not on medalling, not on silver, but on gold. And I wanted the USA to bring home gold in curling. The silver's a great win. I'm very proud of them. I think they are a Midwestern-based team as well, by the way, Sarah. I think they're in Duluth.
They're from Minnesota.
I think they're from Duluth, right?
Yeah. I watched the they're Minnesota.
So it is fitting that you win a curling-based bet while you were based in Minnesota, and I owe you now 2 coffees.
2 coffees, so
we can convert that to one very expensive coffee.
One very expensive coffee. So the winner of the week, I think I have to give it. I am here, like I said, but I have to give it to the people in Minneapolis. So the Border Czar came out yesterday morning at 8 a.m. and said that ICE was, for the most part, withdrawing from the city of Minneapolis. Operation Metro Surge is over. They're going to leave 150 or so agents here, which is the same number as what was before. And all I can say is that I think the people of Minneapolis, with their whistles and their presence, their voices, their bands, their pots, their pans, they did this. This would not have happened without them. So I think the people of Minneapolis are my winners of the week. And my loser of the week is whoever decided to close the El Paso airspace.
We didn't even get to talk about that. That was insane.
We can talk about it now. Yeah.
Oh my God. What? Wait, so what was the actual story? Was it Border Patrol?
The FAA was very clear. Please do not lump us in with border control. Like, border control got I think it was a party balloon, confused with a cartel drone, and they used a laser of some sort. I mean, I'm really getting like Mr. Bigglesworth energy, like the laser. Well, I don't know.
That's 99 red balloons. Isn't that like sort of it's an upbeat song? Isn't that about like a war because the radar sees these balloons? It's missiles.
I don't know. That one was in German. I wasn't sure. 99 Luftballons. Yeah.
99 Luftballons. I think that is the plot of the German language plot of 99 Luftballons is exactly what happened on the El Paso border.
Yeah. So when I read that one yesterday, because again, a little bit of a backstage of how the sausage is made. When we were on our morning call, the editorial call, our airlines reporters were all like, El Paso's airspace is closed for 10 days and they're talking about it. And I'm like, guys, isn't that like super weird? Like, that doesn't happen. They're like, oh yeah, super weird. And I'm like, so why is it closed? And they're like, nobody knows. Also, nobody knows that it's like, security, but what, And so then, I don't know, it's maybe 6 hours later that I saw it first in the New York Times. I think it was exclusive to them. So well done, New York Times. Yeah, party balloon.
Yeah, that's a really good loser of the week.
So I don't know who that poor person is, but my condolences. They're probably having a bad day.
Well, my winner of the week, it's going to be a little self-congratulatory, but I'm really proud of my research team. We just published our outlook, and that is a huge deal. The entire team works super hard on it, and I'm really proud of them. I won't say it's of me, but of them. And the whole team of analysts that reports under me worked on this for over a month. Yeah. So if I can, it's our podcast. We can be a little self-congratulatory. I want to call them the winners of this week. It's a great piece
Well
of
done,
research.
Skift Research team.
And if you are a subscriber, go ahead and check it out. Or you can watch the webinar replay with Sarah and myself, where we really get into it in detail. But or just let us know if you have any questions. We are available, podcast@skift.com. And if you have any questions, we can address it in the next episode. My loser of the week, and I'm worried that they will, well, actually, I hope they're the loser of the week. I'm calling tech stocks, because I've just seen all of these companies selling off. Back to your point about Marriott and about the risk factors. Right now, the market is not so much focused on the risks to hotels from AI, but they're focused on the risks to software from AI. And we're seeing a rout in tech stocks. We saw a rout in some online travel stocks as well. Let's see if it, hopefully by next week when we check back in for my 401k sake, hopefully they're back. But I hope that this becomes I hope this is, we worry that these losers become too dated. Hopefully this is a dated one. I want to see my 401k recover, but I have a feeling that this might be part of a larger story in the stock market.
Speaking of things that are dated, I can't, for any of you who are actually watching us and not listening to us, Seth, I mean, is the Don Johnson like vertical line like light here? Like are we going for a Miami Vice kind of look?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like you need to like look out the window, like pensively, maybe
I need
push up
a
your
cigarette.
sleeves.
Exactly. Someone's gonna knock on my door. Out of all the detective joints, why?
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying you trying to avoid the sun.
Listeners, I'm not in my normal place, and there's a sun right in my eye, and there's a whole bunch of film noir shades in my face. So I've been awkwardly trying to dance around this. And if you are viewing this on YouTube or on LinkedIn, I appreciate your patience and your understanding in advance.
Well, I think we should put Seth in a Don Johnson. Yeah, give him some, have Bea give him some effects and make that our cover of the week. Well, great. Well, Seth, I think we're done.
Yeah, let's. You know what? I'm in debt enough to you. Let's hold off on the bet until next week. And in the meantime, let me pay you what I owe you, and we'll talk again next week.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate. I'll give you that. You know, I wouldn't want to. You know,
spare my wallet.
Yeah.
Super...
Exactly. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.